Me, and of course I had to, even though I'm a trail runner, I've got my sloth who is drinking, because how in the world do I follow Susan? I mean, she had a cartoon, great outfit. I can't follow Susan, but I do want to take just a few minutes and thank Ravit and Kate for, and everybody else who is sharing thoughts and everything through this session today. What a great panel, what a great idea, and a great way to do this. So for me, let me talk a little bit about my book, my background with data literacy, because yes, I did help pioneer and invent it. That nickname that you see at the bottom of the screen, the Godfather of Data Literacy, I did not give myself. It was shared with me at some point that was my nickname, and I did not know it. My other nickname is the Chief Nerd Officer, and I think I enjoy that nickname better. But for my presentation today, I just want to share something, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how to start in data literacy. I was presenting just this morning to one of the world's largest telecom companies. And the number one question I get is, how do I start? How do I start? How do I start? And I'm going to give you a 5-step plan that you could get started on here. And as I do it, I'll talk a little bit about the book that's sitting over my shoulder here and talk a little bit about how it came to be. So first off, a little bit about the book. A few years ago, when I started to have ideas, when you think about this world of data, when we think about how much data exists, how much is out there at our fingertips, a lot of companies are not getting good adoption. They're not getting adoption with data tools, with data and analytics, but they're investing so much money to make it happen. A lot of times what gets blamed is the tools, when in reality, a lot of times it's the data literacy skills of an organization. And so years ago, I was working for American Express, and I was training and put in charge of all the training for all the dashboards and everything we were putting out there. In the process of doing that, the reality was that we were just training people how to use dashboards. And my mind started to think about, how do we train people to do more? How do you actually do data and statistics and things like that? And I built this plan. I built an entire plan around it, presented it to my EVP at the company, and she just flat turned me down and said, no, we're not going to do that. People aren't ready. Just train them how to do the dashboards, maybe in the future. Now, in fairness, she might be the smartest person I have ever met, but at the same time, she was a lot like Sheldon on The Big Bang Theory, if you watch that show. And so I didn't even realize what we were stumbling upon. And that was my first, that's 7-8 years ago. And then Click hired me to be an entrepreneur, and I've since left Click and had the opportunity to come to Pluralsight, where I'm VP of Data Skills. The reality is, this book came about because of, one, I had a publisher and a friend, Bernard Marr, videoed me, and the publisher came and said, hey, do you want to write a book for us on data literacy? Little secret that a lot of people may know, may not know, is book 2. Just the manuscript was just submitted, final manuscript. So that'll be out next year. I won't tell anybody yet what that is going to be about, but for next year's holiday party, we can cover that book. But let me give you 5 steps on how to start your data literacy journey, how to actually get going. Because I think a lot of times we have this mistaken idea in our minds that we truly have to become technical. We have to get in statistics. Do I need to do data science and all these things? And the reality is, the answer is no. You don't have to be a data scientist to be data literate. You don't have to be a data scientist to be good and strong and be able to use data. The first step I want you to do is I want you to set an outcome. What is it that you're trying to achieve with data literacy and learning? Is it to get better at interpreting data visualizations? Is it to get better at answering questions or asking questions? Is it just learning to use the 4 levels of analytics: descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive? Many different things can be your outcome, but set your outcome. We had Lillian mention earlier about mentors and that she mentors. Find a mentor if you don't know the outcome you're looking to achieve. Find it. You've got a whole slew of authors on this and amazing people who know what they're doing in data. I like to think I know what I'm doing in data, and Kate would probably tell you I don't, and that's okay. But the reality is, find a mentor to help you set that outcome. Number 2, set a strategy to achieve that outcome. That strategy might be study 15 minutes a day. In my mind, I have this big thought process, or I shouldn't call it a big thought process, kind of this theme of a daily 15. And what that is if you can incrementally gain 1% every day for a year, you will have magnified 37 times over that year. So set a daily 15. 1% of 24 hours is 14.4 minutes. Round it up to 15. Set a strategy for 15 minutes every day. I will get better at asking questions. I will study Brent's book or Susan's book or Scott's book or Randy's book. I will do something for 15 minutes every day. Third thing that you could do to improve your data literacy is invest in the tools and technology that you need to achieve it. It could be a data visualization tool like Tableau, Power BI, Click. It could be investing in Susan's ability to cleanse data and do things like that. All of these things, the investment in the tools and technology matter. Step 4, invest in your skill set, right? Data literacy is all about improving your skill set, improving how you can work with data and things like that. So what skills do you need? Now, there are 2 different channels or 2 different pillars of skills that you're going to have to invest in. There is the technical learning. If it's Tableau, you're going to have to invest in building a data visualization. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have to invest in how to interpret those visualizations. On the data literacy side, the definition of data literacy is the ability to read, work with, analyze, and communicate with data. Do we need to build in one of those 4 skills? Yeah, find your areas. If you don't know what areas you need to improve in, ask your mentor or find assessments that you can do that will help you improve in those areas. And then finally, the 5th step that you can do is ensure that your environment is conducive to taking on this challenge of improving your data literacy skills. Meaning your environment, your own beliefs, your own rituals, the traditions, the way you go about your day. If you haven't set yourself up for success, and this goes for anything, it might not work. And so you want to set those things up for success. Now, those 5 steps again are set your outcome, build a strategy, find the technology that you need to succeed, close your own personal skills gap, and then set your environment up. The final thing I want to talk about is get really good at the 3 C's of data literacy. Be more curious, so ask a ton of questions. Question everything. Question why in the world you came to watch this today. Was it to figure out what books to buy? Was it to learn something from the authors? Was it something, whatever it was? Question everything. Number 2, become more creative. Become creative in how you use data. We have to remember that data and analytics for a lot of people is an intimidating topic. If you're just starting off, there is a lot that you can learn. There's data ethics, data governance, data cleansing. There's AI, ML, data science, data visualization, data analyst, statistics. The list is massive. Be creative. Find those areas. Find curiosity. Question everything. And number 3, be better at critical thinking. Develop your critical thinking skills, digging deep. In Cal Newport's book, Deep Work, he talks about how our brains have 4 hours a day of deep work. That's it. Only 4 hours. That is not answering emails. It's not commenting on posts. It's turning things down, shutting it down, and critically thinking and diving in. Those would be my 5 steps in the 3 C's. Now, a final story on the book, and then I'll bring Kate and Ravit back on. And that is, with this book, I was running down. It's funny. I was actually running down from that trail right there. That trail is Lake Blanche in Utah. And as I was coming down that trail, I believe it was right after my book launched earlier this year. And so I ran into a friend who was coming up the trail. And in talking to her, she's like, congrats on the book. I'm probably too stupid to get it. If anyone thinks that, they're missing the point of data literacy. The design of that book and data literacy in general is empowering everybody to be able to use data, to have confidence and comfort, not to think you have to be a data scientist, just get better in using data. So thank you for your time. Kate and Ravit, you're welcome to come back on. We can answer a couple questions and we can do a couple shuffles and have those people reach out to me for the books.
This was amazing, Jordan. Certainly, I learn a lot from you in terms of data literacy. You always make us more data literate. And I always say, be data literate with Jordan. So thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Jordan, thank you so much for your presentation. We do have time for a couple of questions and we are doing the giveaway. I think I'm going to bring this up on the screen first. So hashtag DataLit. So folks just get a reminder to get their hashtags in there. Dolly is excited for book 2. Are you gonna tell us what this is about yet, or?
I won't share the title, but it is a transition. So the first book was about the individual. This next book is truly about being data driven. What does it mean? How does an organization become data driven? Principles within it absolutely will help the individual to progress beyond that one. And tomorrow I have a call with the publisher for book 3, which we'll keep that one. The stream is going, so it's great.
Once you start, you just can't stop, I guess.
Yes,
huh?
so I've fooled them all, Kate. I've got everyone fooled that I know what I'm talking about. I'm going to keep that gravy train rolling.
Keep it going. Yes. All right. Question here from Neil. How important do you think self-service data is in enabling data literacy? And are centralized reporting teams a blocker to enterprise data literacy, in your opinion?
So Neil, it's a good question. Yes, I would actually say if you centralize everything, you are going to impede an organization's data literacy as a whole because the data is not getting to the masses. But what's interesting is it was the democratization and self-service of data at American Express that got my ideas rolling about data literacy, because the vast majority of people do not have skills in data and analytics. If you think about it, they don't go to school for it. They don't get a background, any of that. And so I should say, we hear about data all the time. We have natural skills in it, but when you democratize it to the masses and they don't have that background, as you can imagine, it's going to fall short. And so, yes, self-service should absolutely be happening, but it has to be married and partnered up with the data literacy initiative so you actually get insight from all that data. Or what you find, and I talk about this often, is you're going to find that you're just stuck in building dashboards. You don't really progress through the analytical chain, which is to drive insight. All you're going to get is a pretty chart that tells you what happened, and no one knows how to get the insight out of it, or very few do. So yes, self-service data should be happening. Centralized teams can be good as long as there's a hybrid approach to it and that the data is then given out to the masses.
Awesome. Thank you. And last question before we announce winners. You mentioned you read the book Deep Work, and I've also read that book. I really loved it. I was very inspired by it, right? It makes you really want to go into a cabin by yourself, lock the world out, and really produce something. But I feel like once the book was over and a few days passed, I sort of didn't do that. I still have my technology available to me at most times, and wanted to ask how you were able to apply this to your life.
So I would turn it back to, I am not big on social media anymore, which is one of the biggest distractions. I find social media to be a good thing as long as it's used appropriately, right? Oh. Our world is full of distractions, but we also have, and it's full of all these things that give us comfort. We also have more mental illness and mental health issues than ever before. And so this book, Deep Work, like, let's turn it back, Kate, to the daily 15, right? Yeah. To sit here and say, I'm going to just instantly get rid of things for 4 hours and just dig deep work. It's not going to happen. Start small. You can't boil the ocean. It's the same thing with my ultra marathon running. I'm not going to go out and run a 50-mile race by just running 30 miles tomorrow. You're going to start small, right? Start at that daily 15. If people are looking to remove distraction and do deep work, start small, use cumulative gains over time, and just improve your schedule. And over time, yes, you can get to that true 4 hours of deep work. You can go to the cabin in the woods. You can be Henry David Thoreau, whatever you want to be. But you got to start small. And if you start with like a daily 15, the other thing that I would recommend, keep a journal, right? Keep a journal and write down those things that are impeding you. Okay, this impeded me today. Can I make it the next day? That might be your daily 15, but that could be data literacy. It could be anything that you're trying to gain.